Heads in the Cloud, your source for future-proofing your business. Welcome to another episode of Heads in the Cloud with James Bernan and Joe DeLevo, the superstars of 4IR Solutions. And this is a place where we talk about digital transformation, Industry 4.0, IIoT, and how to move your business forward to meet that future demand, moving into the future within digital transformation. And for this episode, we're going to be talking a bit about some of the topics surrounding life sciences, which includes Cloud EMS from Grantech, as well as PharmaStack from 4IR Solutions. And I'm so excited because this is definitely a trend that's coming up right now, where a lot of people are getting excited talking about life sciences and how to actually improve that industry. So did you guys want to go ahead and start this off and talk a bit about kind of what you're seeing going on in the life science industries?
Yeah, I think the life science industry in particular is having a bit of a renaissance around adoption of technology. The AI, cloud technologies, SaaS-based solutions are something that were just not really heavily used in that industry for a long, long time. And now the benefits are certainly outweighing some of the detriments of it, and what we're seeing is guidance from ISPE and other organizations around best practices, and we're seeing companies really adopting these technologies and gaining the value of them. It's forcing some changes, I think, too, with the way that they do validation and some of the practices that are in place. They don't necessarily fit as well with some of these solutions, and I think that's where we tried to find a sweet spot with PharmaStack.
I think it's super exciting as well because I think the industry has a reputation for being bureaucratic, let's say, and I think, to be fair, there's a lot of good reasons for that. A lot of checks and balances that make sure that ultimately, people and patients are going to be safe from pharmaceuticals and everything else. Also, I think now that the industry is starting to come around, that also opens the door to newer companies who have newer technologies that they want to start bringing in that wouldn't have really been possible 5 or 10 years ago before the industry was kind of opening themselves up to that. So there's a lot of incumbent players in this space who are kind of built around the very rigid, fundamental old ways of doing it, let's say. And now we're seeing an appetite for something new and exciting. And that's just building on the messaging that we're trying to do for all industries in manufacturing by bringing some of these new cool technologies that are very well established in the IT space to manufacturing and now to life sciences. So I'm super excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, I love it. So speaking of new technologies and being innovative, can you talk a bit about PharmaStack and how that came about, and even a bit about the collaboration with Grantech for their Cloud EMS?
Yeah, the idea for PharmaStack was actually the very first idea that 4IR came up with when we were thinking about the Cloud PaaS solutions, platform as a service solutions. We realized that it was a challenge to make sure that all of the regulatory requirements would be met. And we ended up actually releasing FactoryStack, the non-regulated version, first, because the amount of energy and work that went into making sure we were audit ready was very. It was a substantial amount of work to get there. I guess I'll say the way it went down. But yeah, what we realized was that there was some parts and pieces that we could provide the end customers and system integrators, solution providers, and OEMs as a part of the platform that would actually make some of the day-to-day tasks that are somewhat monotonous. Things like when doing change control, so I make an application change for an operating system in a qualified environment, there's a lot of evidence collection that has to go on to document what that change was and what the purpose was. With some of the tools that are available now, we're actually able to automate some of that evidence collection and make things easier for folks that are performing those actions.
Yeah, it's been super exciting. And I think, one of the hard things about talking about a platform is that we're certainly solving some very major customer pain points, especially in life sciences. But other pain points like controlling actual operational equipment, for example, is something that has to be tailor built to the end user. And so that's why we're really excited about collaborating on the Cloud EMS product, because it's built on top of the platform. So we're handling all of the security, all the authentication pieces, getting the software platform Ignition up there in a way that's readily usable in this kind of multi-tenant application environment. And then the actual specific functional requirements, let's say, related to the environmental monitoring system piece is being done by Grantech. So it's been a really nice collaboration. They could focus more on solving those problems while we're providing a lot of the underlying underpinnings. So it's been working out pretty well, I'd say.
Beautiful, beautiful. And Joe, I just now noticed it. You gave the giraffe headphones.
Now that you mention it, why didn't anybody say this? It looks like it's not even sitting on the poor guy's ears.
He is sort of, DJing. That was perfect.
There you go. Okay, now his mouthpiece is there if he needs to chime in a little bit. But yeah, I noticed that it wasn't set up. So
are we gonna are we gonna have Geralt the giraffe have his own LinkedIn page or maybe at least an Instagram page? I feel like that may need to be a marketing thing.
I think so. I think he'd be a hit. A DJ, have him as his own little brand. Maybe we could even set up a petting for people to pet him.
Well, maybe anybody who watches this, if you'd like to see us actually set up some social media for our giraffe, Gerald. Sorry, I got to pronounce it correctly. Please comment down in the comment section because we'd love to hear that someone's actually watching this and interested in seeing the life and times of Geralt the giraffe.
I'm getting a lot of pressure to lug this guy up to the Ignition Community Conference coming up in a few weeks, and so I've been really pushing back. But let's say if there's enough interest, then maybe I can leave something else behind and bring the giraffe so he could sit in the passenger seat or the trunk or whatever's going to create less suspicion, I think, from other folks on the road.
You have my vote as long as he's wearing his seatbelt. You got to look after him.
Okay, so no trunk.
Pretty sure you can use the HOV lanes if you have a giraffe in the passenger seat.
I've done that. I'm not gonna lie. I have done that.
Yeah.
But back to it. I want to know more about the automation. I love anything automation. I love making things more efficient and just the opportunity that life science manufacturers have to actually automate a lot of their processes using what you guys are using. I want to hear more about that.
Yeah, I guess I'll start off with just talking about automation in general with what we're doing. And when we say automation, again, I think we maybe mentioned this in one of the previous discussions, was we're not talking about necessarily factory floor automation, PLCs, servos, that kind of stuff. What we're talking about is automating the process of actually managing, deploying, and maintaining the infrastructure that we create. So fundamentally, the infrastructure that we deploy for every one of our clients is the same. So PharmaStack, whether you're deploying a one plant monitoring system or a 10 plant OEE system, it's fundamentally the same under the hood and uses the same code base. So we're able to, number one, be able to manage it at scale, but number two is to be able to have a very consistent deployment and very consistent management mechanism around the core of how the platform is built. When it comes to kind of blending the automation of infrastructure, it also means we can spin it up very fast. We can make changes to it that are consistent across the subscribers, and we can, for our own purposes, when we perform testing, it's applicable across the entire subscriber base. Some of the automation that we've built into the platform itself for the users, maybe Joe, if you want to talk about that a little bit, we've been using Git as kind of the center part for that.
Yeah, and it's nice because it's kind of twofold, right? It's the automation like James was talking about that we're doing internally in developing the platform itself and deploying the platform. And then, of course, as we mentioned, kind of PaaS versus SaaS, then there's actual software that rides on top of that. And part of the solution is enabling automatic change capture of changes that are made at that application level, namely Ignition. And so somebody who's used any kind of development environment before, whether it's SCADA, whether it's Ignition specifically, with our approach, you kind of go in there, you make your application changes just as you would normally. And in the background, without you having to do anything yourself, those changes are being automatically captured and versioned. We're using Git, which is kind of an industry standard that has fallen out of the software IT world. Equivalents of that have been around for a very, very long time, but you're kind of getting that for free. And there's other tools in there, including one that we provide, which is kind of a front end for it. It's a UI for that will actually show you visual diffs, as they call them, but show you the old version and the new version and show you what's changed there. That all comes for free. And then where that relates to life sciences specifically is when you have to be able to provide evidence of these changes. But because we're tracking all of this automatically, we can show you what these changes are. And you can take those changes as kind of a unit, an atomic unit, and migrate those between your different environments. So if you have a dev system, a test system, staging, production, you can take those changes through an approval process where you have different folks who have different permission levels or different roles within the organization, who can run their tests, who can verify that a proposed change is valid and something they want to be able to migrate between systems. And with some button clicks, they're able to migrate that over and have those changes automatically under control, but they're able to be migrated over to a production environment, in some cases with no downtime, which is incredibly powerful and something you would never think of in most industries, let alone in life sciences. So that's super exciting, super big differentiator, and it comes, I'll say, for free as a part of how we've architected the platform using some of these technologies from the software and IT worlds.
I love it. And I'm excited about that as well. And I know something that other people are excited to hear. Just your own input in terms of where you think that the life sciences industry within manufacturing is going. Like, what new trends or what direction do you feel that it's actually going in right now?
I'll start with that one, and I'll say the thing that gets me excited, and it's really exciting to see it starting to be even talked about in the industry, is using AI and machine learning, specifically with regards to things like drug discovery. So we've seen folding at home is like it's a application that I've been running for years on my dusty graphics card, which was used for like protein folding. We're seeing a lot of these algorithms that are now starting to being used for discovering new kinds of drugs, finding relationships between different variables that a human may not even be able or tempted to kind of think about, and finding these correlations that are really, really new and interesting and novel. And what we're seeing from the industry is they're starting to put together guidance. You look at something like life sciences that is very, very structured around what is okay to do, having these validated processes. And now you take some of these machine learning algorithms, which are effectively black boxes. There are tools for giving you deeper visibility into layers of neural networks and things like that, but they're effectively a black box where you put in inputs, you get outputs. How do you do that in an industry that requires a lot of structure and rigidity and transparency into how tests and things are doing? And we're starting to see guidance from that, which is incredibly exciting. And I look forward to seeing where the industry goes. I will say that the enabler for any type of machine learning is data. And so the fact that we're putting in systems that are collecting data, that are adhering to principles that everybody cares about, especially life sciences like data integrity, is super, super exciting. And it's going to enable those algorithms to do some really cool things that, frankly, folks today have not even thought about yet. So very excited to see where that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would, just not to add too much to that, but I would just say that some of the guidance around and some of the sessions from last year's ISPE conference and some of the stuff that I've seen coming out of ISPE in particular has been really exciting around that. Guidance documents, best practices, examples from companies that are already using AI and ML in different forms for more practical, pragmatic plant floor things, as well as for some more deep learning activities like Joe described with more drug discovery kind of things. So, yeah, I think the industry at large has identified the opportunity is there, and if there is no pragmatic, you can't allow the way we did things before to prevent us from innovating in the future. And I think that message has been loud and clear from the folks in the industry, and it's exciting because it's. I've worked in life sciences for a long, long time, and the rigidity has always been there. And, you're seeing things change at a very rapid pace, specifically for that industry right now.
I completely agree. I think definitely not just within this industry, but industries in general, you need to be agile. You need to be able to adapt quickly. And that way you can respond to those changes and make sure that you're in the forefront and that your competitors aren't taking those opportunities while you're missing out. So this is about the end where we're going to wrap it up, but I think that we're going to end up having to have a part 2 of the PharmaStack as well as the life science industry and even a bit about cloud EMS from Grantech. So is there anything else that you guys want to say?
No, thanks for listening.
And the giraffe?
He's silent, but he agrees. He's nodding his head. So we're super excited about this. We're going to be at a couple of industry events coming up, notably Ignition Community Conference, which will be a week or two out from this, depending on, I guess, when the audience hears it. But come talk to us. We're excited to talk about this kind of stuff and be able to showcase it and demo it. And we've got some great conversations that we're having with folks around it. So come be a part of it.
Thank you. So, yeah, you guys are here listening to Heads in the Cloud podcast with James Brennan and Joe DeLevo from 4IR Solutions. Heads in the Cloud, your source for future-proofing your business.